Meeting of the Board of Education of Pinelands Regional School District in the County of Ocean, that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the Ocean Public Meeting Act. Notice has been posted in the Board of Ed office, junior high school, and high school buildings. The notice was also mailed to the Press of Atlantic City and filed with the municipal clerks of Bass River Township, Eagleswood Township, Little Egg Harbor Township, and the Borough of Tuckerton. Roll call, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Barchetto.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here. Oh, I'm not, half me here.
Mr. Kubricki.
Half-hearted.
Here. Ms. Palladino.
Here.
Ms. Hannibal.
Here.
Ms. Pakwakua, currently marked absent. Mrs. McVeigh.
Here.
Ms. Chambers.
Here.
And Ms. Ernst.
I'm here.
We have a quorum of the board.
Betty Ann come in that quick.
Wow. You were shaking.
I was like a dog shaking off all the water.
All right, resolved that the Board of Education meet in closed session to discuss matters as listed below. They are attorney-client communications, student legal matter, policy 9400, which is news and media relations, settlement agreement update, and a staff member concern. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
For that,
Do we have agendas?
They're on the way out.
They're in the back, if you need one.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We're gonna go, we open here, then we go in
Wait a
executive,
second.
which is around the
Okay.
corner.
Okay, so I'll wait
So we have
around
a
the corner
couple
for you
things to do
guys.
first that are quick, and then if you wanna wait in the hallway, I'll come grab you.
It was Pat
Yes.
and Kim. You made the motion, or Christie did?
I do.
okay, all in favor?
Clarification.
Executive.
First, clarification, Amy, item number 2, policy 9400, is that an appropriate item for executive session?
It's for a legal update about that policy with the legal concerns
Okay.
that Mr. Miller had brought up at the last meeting. So anything just general about the policy would be talked about up here, but the legal ramifications would be in executive.
You ready?
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I don't, yeah, just, I think.
All in favor of coming out?
Aye.
All right, we're out.
Okay, recognition has already been read and roll call has been taken. The entire board is present this evening. Could we all rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving forward, item number 5, could I please have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Okay.
Roll call, all ayes in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6, approval of the minutes for our regular and executive sessions for September 18th. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Roll call, all in favor, all ayes?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to abstain, I was not present.
Mr. Williams abstained, noted. Motion carries.
Moving on to item number 7, which is the report of the superintendent, and I will turn it over to Dr. M.
Thank you. I do have a few items tonight. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Shore, Dr. Clark, the entire junior high staff, and a special thank you to Michelle Molaski and Tony Anzafrantia for re-establishing the Pinelands experience. I was able to go out in the morning with Ms. Frasca and Ms. Palladino, and we wanted to witness firsthand all the events the students were doing, and it was absolutely amazing. The kids had a great day. It was a long day, but it was a wonderful day, and we're hoping with the board's support to have one overnight next year and kind of gradually get it back to what it used to be. So if you've seen the pictures on the Cat Eye, it was amazing. The kids just were so happy. I know your son went, correct? And it was just awesome. So thank you for your support in that, and thank you to everyone involved for getting that off the ground again. I'd like to thank the Cat Eye for all the work that they've been doing. I've been seeing things on Facebook, all over social media. They're everywhere. A special thank you to the recent event that they did for our alumni that came back. There was over 70 members that came for our homecoming weekend, and it was just awesome. So thank you for doing that. Homecoming was a big success. I know Mr. Henderson went to the dance, and he told me that, I believe the comment was, he has a son that just graduated from another local high school, and he is just amazed at how awesome our kids are. So it was just a great night, and thank you to everyone for putting that together, and to the students for being so great. Lunch and Learn is off and running, and I know there was some apprehension in the beginning. It's been going really well. The students are enjoying it. We had some parents that actually came in one day, and Mr. Henderson gave them a tour, and they spoke to some students, and the students are very excited about being able to now pick and choose where they want to go during that period. So thank you to the staff for doing that, and the students for being active participants. I'd like to thank Miss Collins Davies, who works at Stockton. I actually ran into her at an awards night for Stockton, and she has hooked me up with Mr. Daniel Tomei. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And he has helped us in the past and is going to help us now with our high school students for Stockton Mlk Day of Service, which will be held January 20th at the Seaport. It's from 9 to 2. There's lunch provided, and there's a bunch of activities that students can get their volunteer hours, and families can participate as well. So I'm going to get more information from him soon, and he's going to come in and speak with our students in the high school during lunch periods. So I'm very excited about that. I did speak with Jared from Effective School Solutions. Mr. Barchetto had given us the recommendation. I did meet with him, with some of the staff members, some of our admin team. We had a great meeting with him. It's very comprehensive. I'm happy to say that a lot of the services that they offer, we already are offering here with our mental health expert and some of our counseling services. It really is an amazing, amazing program. He did invite me down to one of the schools to see it firsthand, and I'm going to take him up on that. My initial apprehension is the cost, Full disclaimer, he said it's about 290,000 for the year. It does include some summer services, but it is expensive. As Mr. Barchetto and I had a conversation, if we have some more students that were at a district that we're not providing services for because of the things we're doing, you are saving money there, but would have to be that balance. So I am gonna get some more information and bring that back to the board. So thank you, Mr. Barchetto, for introducing us to him. And lastly, I did hand out board goals. If you want to keep a copy, we can make notes on them as the year goes on. I know we approved them recently. We have been already working on them in terms of the social and emotional. As I said, you've supported the mental health expert who's here part-time. We are doing programs within the school. In terms of our math goal, we have our new expert that we're sharing that's already come over here. He's met with the math teachers during our professional development day. He's checked over SGOs with Mr. Morgan. They have a plan of attack moving forward, and we are really digging into data and ensuring that we're making progress with math. Ms. Fraska and I are going to give an overview tonight of our state assessments, and you're going to see that math is definitely an area that we want to improve on. So that is all I have for right now.
Anybody have questions? All right, any questions on PCD, which would be our monthly attendance report, our discipline report, and our security drill report? Any questions or discussion? Okay, then I am going to move on to number E, letter E, our facilities update, Mr. Balone and Mr. Moore.
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
I'm going to give you an update on the punch list items that have been completed and some that are still outstanding. The projectors in the A wing are all up and running. We finished them up Monday. They're finishing up the lighting on the canopy outside, the main entrance of the high school. They're installing that during the day. The old generator removal is underway. Most of the hardware issues have been addressed. The electric in classrooms in the A wing have been addressed. Still outstanding, some of the items that are outstanding at the high school are some electric in the D wing. Minor items, ceiling tiles out, outlet covers, touch-up painting, and adjusting the HVAC systems. We need asphalt repair in the back parking lot, and we have numerous concrete repairs in both schools, which will probably happen November break. Because they have to cut them out and they can't do it with kids here.
Where is this, John?
All over, both schools.
Okay.
Different areas where it cracked and,
Okay.
because of the settling in the weather. The junior high, the lighting canopy has been done, but it's just waiting to be turned on, correct?
There's some wiring and parts.
The patch in the driveway entrance has been completed. The new sign is installed. We're waiting on the company to come out for its first startup. As you know, the trailers are gone. The site restoration is supposed to start tomorrow, but with the weather, we don't know. And outstanding here, like I said, is concrete. Topsoil where the trailers were and grass seed. We need a repair on the asphalt bus loop. And then again, minor tiles, outlet covers, touch-up painting, and HVAC adjustment. Here's more on the punch list, but they're minor. They're working through it quickly, and we're hoping to have it pretty much cleared up soon.
Dare I ask, when is soon?
Brian?
Well, basically, they're working through it, but the other part is like anything else, when you move in, you find things. So they're addressing issues of, hardware that hasn't been used for a year, either by lock, because we went through the same scenario when we did the doors over here. So we're addressing safety issues that if they can't lock a door and open it up, it's taken care of right away. So there's things of pluses and minuses going on to work it through the whole list.
Okay. One of my questions, because it was an item on the punch list and having gone to the construction meetings, this came up months and months and months ago. What's with the skylight in the high school? Has that been replaced yet?
The skylight is scheduled. We had an email from the company. The glazing is coming into their shop this week, and they're targeting the first week in November, due to the fact that it's safety and trying to work underneath, so it's starting to break.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Where do we stand? I know in the original punch list, there were concerns over the alarms, some of the alarm systems. Where do we stand? Are they up full functional and running?
The fire, our fire security came out today over here and finalized a few things that were outstanding with the punch, that were on the punch list, and it's up and running now at the high school.
Okay.
Here, Siemens finished up. When was it, yesterday?
On the fire alarm system, the
Yeah.
old system was taken offline 100% during the holiday on Monday, their in-service day. So the full fire alarm system is operational to what it's required to be for this one.
Okay, good. And how about intruder alarms? They're set, ready to go?
We have intruder alarms in the high school, but we're still waiting on the estimate to come back to get it back to where it was before the construction started.
All right. There seem to have been quite a few areas in the D block or D, I guess it's a D wing.
D-Wing.
Yeah.
We're pretty well, those have been taken care of, because it seemed like there were a few rooms there right in a row
Yes.
consecutively that had some issues that.
There's still some electrical
When I see
issues.
penetration, I think rain
Oh.
or water,
Yeah.
so.
They've been addressed.
Okay.
There's still some electrical issues in some
Okay.
classrooms, and I forget what room it is, Mr. Rachesky's room.
Mhm.
There's some electrical issues there we still have to deal with there, but otherwise, everything's been mostly cleared up in the D-Wing. Unless something turns up.
Okay.
Always-
Hopefully not.
always
Hopefully
work.
nothing will turn up with this.
We'll know, right?
Right,
Yeah.
you know.
Thanks.
I also, and Nick and I talked about this, because one of my concerns was, and again, it's because I sat through these meetings, kept asking a certain individual, why are you still here? Is Paul Otto almost complete?
We have Paul Otto's punch list. It's pretty much just minor things that they're gonna be
Okay.
addressing during both contractors are probably gearing up for is during that spring break. Oh, excuse me, not spring, the November break.
November break.
To
Okay.
handle certain items.
Yeah.
Okay, because, Nick and I had talked about the payment and how that works, et cetera.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Stephen?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a punch list concern or just a general concern. Yesterday I was at the volleyball senior night in the high school gymnasium, and the microphone system, you could not hear anything. They were announcing the players, they were having people recite things, and I don't know if that was part of the change, but it's something that if it wasn't part of our referendum, really needs to be addressed, that we have a decent, system in there so that you can hear things, because right now, I thought it was me, so I asked Mick.
You know what, I could talk to Mr. Hickman about that. I
Yeah.
know they had some issues with the wiring and that before. That's a separate system.
That's a
It has
separate-
nothing to
separate
do
issue,
with
yeah.
that, but I can actually check with him for that.
Yeah, that's a newer system too.
And we did have a company out to do some intercom repair work
Right.
In the cafeteria, and we can certainly, when they come next week, have them look at that area and provide us estimates for that work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to presentations. Our student representatives from the junior high and the high school. Do we have anybody here? Aw, come on up. Okay.
Good evening, board. I'm Student Body President Emily English. I'm here to touch up on student life. Dr. McCooley touched up on some of this, so I'm very sorry if this sounds repetitive. This past weekend was our homecoming weekend, and it was a huge success. On Friday, we held our homecoming pink out football game for breast cancer. At halftime, we held a ceremony to honor our Queen's Court, and we crowned our Queen, Haley Nutt. On Saturday, we had our annual homecoming dance, and overall, everybody had a great time. That night, we honored both the King and Queen's Court, and our King, Jack Doyle, was crowned. Today, our 10th and 11th graders took the PSAT, and everything went perfectly. In regards to the lunch and learn, students were able to choose an activity they enjoy doing and were assigned to a room that coordinates with their chosen activity. The High School Wellness Center is asking for donations of shampoo, conditioner, soap, body wash, deodorant, body spray, dental care, feminine products, undergarments, socks, face wash, personal size hand sanitizers and tissues, and baby/cleansing cloths. And for that, you can contact Troy Anderson or Nurse Kate with any questions. On November 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. in the high school parking lot, the PTSO is hosting Fire Pit Friday. There's going to be music, s'mores, food, activities, and most importantly, a fire. For more information, contact Mlk at PRSDNJ.org. Following this will be our last home football game of this season, and it's also their senior night. Finally, the FCCLA will be participating in this year's Trunk or Treat at the Little Lake Harbor Community Center on Friday, October 18th. They're asking for people to consider donating a bag or two of candy to the FCCLA by tomorrow, October 17th. You can contact Mrs. McCann or drop off in Rainbow Express. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. You took care of Miss Molesky's, right? Miss English? Yes, she did. Okay. All right, students of the month, Mr. Shore.
Okay. Oh, there it is. I'm on. I'm live. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Shore, principal of the junior high school. It is my pleasure to start off the school year to present our junior high school students of the month. So, without any further ado, first up, we will start with 7th grade, and if I could, please have Gabriella Laporto come to the podium. Gabby. You gotta speak, remember? No. So this is Gabby, and this is what Mrs. Leek had said about our 7th grade student month, Gabby. It was with great honor that I get to introduce Gabrielle Laporto as September Student of the Month. I feel very fortunate to have Gabby as a student in my mathematics class. Throughout our short time together so far this year, Gabby has demonstrated excellent leadership and great character. She has impressed all that she has been in contact with. She is a very determined young lady who tries her best in all aspects of school and shows a true desire to better herself academically. Gabby's exemplary work habits can be seen in everything she does and makes her stand out among her classmates. I encourage all to get to know Gabby. She has an incredible ability to brighten your day and her genuine smile with her genuine smile and joyful demeanor. She is unique among her peers in that she is truly a well-rounded young lady. Not only is she an amazing student, but she is also a force to be reckoned with on the soccer field, which I can attest to because I've seen her play. Gabby is a driven, positive, and happy student. She reminds me on a daily basis why I have the best job in the world. I am grateful to have Gabrielle Laporto as a student, and she is truly an asset to our Wildcat family. I am excited to watch her grow and succeed during her time on Pinelands. And that was from Mrs. Leek, your mathematics teacher, and that was very well said. So, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to Gabrielle once again, our 7th grade student of the month. Clap for you. Right one. And that's for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, kiddo. Nice job. And now moving on to our 8th grade student of the month, I would like to bring up Haley Parnell. Haley, come on up. So this was written by Miss Sanford, your English teacher. And here's what Miss Sanford has to say. According to John C. Maxwell, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Haley is a leader in all that she does. In the classroom, Haley is attentive, hardworking, and helpful. She leads by example, and her peers rally around her. On the volleyball court, she is a leader in helping her team improve skills and work together. On the very first day, I noticed Haley's motivation to be the best version of herself. That mindset will take Haley anywhere she wants to go in life. Keep up the great work, Haley. You deserve the Student of the Month award, and that again was from Miss Sanford, your English teacher. So congratulations once again. Those are for you, and that's for you. And congratulations. Feel very proud of you. Also, I just want to mention one thing, and thank you to Mr. Simoncini and the Food Services. On the back of your what the teachers wrote about you, there is a free item for the cafeteria, so feel free to use that. Anytime. And just one other thing, I just want to go on and say, first of all, to Dr. McCooley and to the board, I can't thank you enough for your support to bring back the Pinelands experience. In the 10 or 15 year absence that it's been gone, when we had gone in the summertime and then actually being out there last Friday, I never thought I'd be back to Camp Akanikan or Mali Kaleki Maki, whatever it's called on the other side. It's very difficult. Something along those lines, I butchered the heck out of that. But it brought back so many memories, awesome memories, not only for myself, but I'm sure the staff that remember that were out there. And I can truly say, just getting from feedback, and we were just chatting with the group of the 7th graders and the 8th graders that are upset that they didn't get to go on it. They had a fantastic time. And I know Dr. McCooley had mentioned myself and Dr. Clark, but I really want to thank, number one, our staff that were out there. I can't thank enough to Michelle Molesky and Tony DeFranco, who were really the driving forces for the past 2 years to try to get this back, and they did a tremendous amount of work, so kudos to them for such an successful event. And our staff that stayed back here at the junior high school too, because we did have a program and we did have the 8th grade that were still here, so we kind of had a functioning school here. But to all the hand-to-hand in it, thank you very much, and very grateful to have that back. So hopefully it'll be back what it was before it went away, and bigger and better than ever. So thank you once again. And now I will turn over to my high school counterpart, Mr. Henderson. The podium is yours, sir.
Thank you. Yep. Evening, everyone. I believe I do have one here. Okay, so our 9th grade student of the month is Lillian Molesky, and yes, she is the daughter of our very own Matthew Molesky, and she couldn't make it tonight because they had an event, but her teachers wrote, Lily has been doing a great job as a freshman vice president of her class. She is always smiling, supportive, and ready to lend a helping hand. She is a natural leader with a positive attitude that inspires others. So congratulations, Lily, if you're listening. Next up, who couldn't make it this evening, is Paige Racheski. And her teachers write, Paige always comes to class with a positive outlook and ready to work on any assignment. She is a conscientious student, always willing to encourage and help others. We are so proud of you, Paige. This is a well-deserved recognition. So congratulations, Paige. And I do see Kennedy Heinrichs. Who fell off. Oh, is she here? Come on up, Kennedy. Goes in an older picture. Is that you? Okay. All right, so Kennedy, I'm going to embarrass you for a second. Her teachers write, Kennedy's passion for learning and willingness to extend learning outside of the class is astounding. As a role model student athlete, Kennedy shines both in and out of the classroom as well as on the field. So when all 4 of these girls got the recognition, I called them all into my office and I said, I'm so excited to tell you this. You are all students of the month. And they were like, great, thank you so much, it's awesome, you know. And I go, have you ever been a student of the month before? All 4 of them said, yeah. So this is old news, congratulations. And lastly, our senior is Elizabeth Maycar. Her teachers write, Liz is an excellent student that puts forth great effort in everything she does. She's also a manager of the football team, and she helps out whenever someone needs her. She is respectful and full of school spirit. So congratulations to you as well, Liz.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson.
All girls.
Yes, moving on to item D, standardized tests.
It's me.
Dr. M and Ms. Frasca, are you using the?
Yes.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
We did that, we planned this.
Plan that? You look
Yeah.
like Christmas.
At Christmas, we're gonna look like Thanksgiving.
It should be coming up in a second. I see it coming up.
Good evening, everyone. We're excited to present the scores from the spring 2019 for the NJ SLS, SLA and WIDA, which is the ELL population, and also the DLM for the special education. All right, I'm going to start with ELA. This is just a breakdown. I'm not going to read the entire thing to you. I can send this to the board, link it to the agenda. These are the score. These are how many students actually tested. This is participation. And obviously, that changes with the amount of students in each class. Here's a breakdown of the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. 5s meaning exceeding expectations. And you can see how well we're doing in the past 3 years, 2017, 18, and 19. And we like to pride ourselves in the English department on getting those 4s and 5s. So you can see we are improving each year, even though we had a lot of challenges. This is the comparison with the district. So you can see we have a lot of pluses. We're moving up and staying up with the district in all of the areas. We did go down a little bit in 9th grade. Last year, again, we had some circumstances, but we are going to focus on that area this year. So you can see where things went up.
So,
Yes.
a question, so do you read this as for levels 4 and 5 in 9th grade, for example? The state-
Levels 4 and 5 mean they actually passed.
Right, so the
according
state
to the
shows
state.
4.4% of their students, we have 6.8%.
It's an increase,
Yes,
an
it's
increase
an
in that
increase
group.
for that group, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the plus means that we're moving forward in that area. Again, this is a comparison of the district and the state for levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, we want to stay in the 4 and 5 range. Again, if you look, I wanted to point out to you, grade 10 had major growth last year, and that is the actual expectation for high school graduation, that the students pass the ELA grade 10 assessment. So we put a lot of focus and resources into grade 10 last year, and you can see if you look at level 4, the district has 38.1% of our students, and the state had 33. And we have a lot of 5s as well. So we did really well. We showed major growth in grade 10, and actually in grade 8 last year. We have to present to you these subgroups. So these are different groups. We have Asian, Black, Hispanic, multiple white, so you can see that. And also this is interesting, this is a gender slide. So you can see the top line is the girls in ELA, the middle is everyone, all students, and the bottom is boys. So we have to find out why we gotta get that boy line up there for ELA. This slide is actually looking at some of our subgroups: free and reduced lunch, 504s, limited English proficient, which would be our ELL students, and special education. You can see special education is the yellow line. So we're putting a lot of effort and resources into our special ed population. We're also raising expectations for them and making sure that they are vested into the outcomes for each grade level. So you may have been hearing that we're making some changes, we're providing them with new resources, and this data is really showing us that we have to close that gap. Yes?
I'm confused, I can't see it.
All students is the darkest color.
The yellow at the bottom is the special.
The yellow is special ed. The purple is free and reduced lunch.
Okay, and then what's the DAM? What's the difference between, is that 4 and 5?
So that's the progress that we're seeing.
It's growth. It's
So-
meeting and exceeding expectations.
So why is it down on the end?
Because that group dipped a little bit in
Okay.
percentage, overall percentage.
Okay.
So you can see obviously there's a gap that we have to close. Okay, Matt.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go over the math scores, and as I stated, this is an area that we're focusing on heavily this year. This is a district's goal, and it's an individual goal for a lot of our teachers and departments. So as Gina said for ELA, this is just a participation, who participates in these particular areas of math study. These are the percentages of passing. So where you want your students to be, I don't know if we have a pointer, we do. Where we want our students to be is at meeting or exceeding expectations. What's alarming to me in comparison to ELA, the low amount of students that we have exceeding expectations. So this is an area that we're going to look a little deeper at. Meeting expectations, we're doing okay. This is different groups of students each year. So if you want to see how they're progressing, you would have to go diagonally down to meet with the same group of students. These are the percentages of students in terms of growth compared to the state. So as Gina said before, if it's a plus, that's how we went up in that area. If it's a negative, that's an area that we're going to focus on. So you can see Algebra 1, we dipped a little bit there, as well as geometry. So we are going to look at that, and the area of students exceeding standards is something that we want to focus on this year as well. This is the district versus New Jersey. So if you see the meeting and exceeding expectations, we have the district on one column and the state on the other. And what's concerning to me, if we look at the meeting expectations, is we are below in most of these areas. So we are going to delve down deeper in the data to see what subgroups are doing what and how we can assist them. What we've done so far with Mr. Akampora and meeting with the math department in the high school, we looked at what are called evidence tables, and that shows us by standard where are we not doing very well. And what we're seeing across the board is in modeling and reasoning. What that means is that the students are able to compute many times, but they can't take it a step further and explain why they computed it, or they can't teach someone else how to do it. So we have to get to that next higher level. And once we do that, we're going to see these areas growing. These are subgroups broken down by different races. This one's interesting by gender. We did have females outscoring years ago, but we're not seeing that. We're all basically in the same cluster right now, around 34% meeting expectations. My opinion, 34% is not enough. No concern of the state, no concern of any other school districts in Pinelands Regional. I'd like to see more than 34% of students passing this assessment. These are some more subgroups that are meeting or exceeding expectations, broken down by special education, 504, etc. And you can see down here, once again, special education is rising slightly, but only 9% are meeting or exceeding expectations. What we tell teachers, and we mean this, is we really want to see the growth in that department. We're not expecting them, if they're starting out at 10%, to be at 90%. But we do expect and want to see growth. And now Gina's going to complete the rest with ELL and DLM.
So the ELL, we don't have a huge population of English language learners. It looks like our slide is cut off a little bit there. But we have 4 different languages spoken within that group. Many of those students have socioeconomic status. 2 of them are classified, and you can see we're always around 10. We do have an ELL teacher that addresses all the needs of those students. And this is just more data on each individual student and how they're doing. And you can see that access is one of the assessments that they take. And you can see at the bottom it tells you exactly where each student is. DLM, the dynamic learning map, these are the students. This is only 1% of our population takes the DLM, and this is our current data from last year on the DLM. And these are our special ed students who are just showing progress. We're really just trying to show progress. So we'll have more information next year on this.
So at target is even, and emerging is like?
They're getting
exceeding.
toward their standard. They're moving toward it. And that's all.
Any questions from the board?
No, thank you very much.
Do you need the?
Yes.
Do you have a question?
I did have a question.
Kim has a question.
I just wanted to see, when you're talking about math and in relation to the thing we're approving tonight for the
Yes.
math, in a nutshell, how does that affect those?
What are we approving tonight in terms of math?
The math 7th and 8th?
Oh, that's their curriculum. So
Okay.
they did
Oh,
have,
it's just the basic
yes,
one?
that they
Okay.
had to update their curriculum to add some new state standards.
Okay, thanks.
Who am I turning over to for the next?
Legacy Center.
The Legacy Center.
Get set up,
So
that's fine.
Melissa, I would just add, the math is an issue that we had identified with last year's test scores. So it sounds like we are taking a number of actions to try to address that. Could we maybe get an update at mid-year?
Sure, no, of course, I'm gonna give updates,
Those
yes,
issues that go.
absolutely. They're gonna take benchmark assessments mid-year, so we can share some of that data and the progress. They've taken their initial benchmarks, so that our in-house data is gonna be helpful because it's gonna show us real-time results of how they're doing.
Thank you.
So you're using?
We do have a very small presentation.
Okay.
The students are going to actually be presenting.
That's okay.
All right, so for those of you who don't know us, I'm Kathy Schaefer, one of the teachers here at Pinelands. Allison Lawrence is also a teacher, and we have Dan Grasso. We have, we have actually started this year something called the Wildcat Shack. This is something that we are very passionate about, and we started thinking about this last year. I've been teaching here almost 25 years. Actually, I think this actually might be my 25th year. And in the last probably like 3 to 5 years, I've noticed a huge swing for the needs of our students in our community. And last year in particular, I had a few students who really needed some extra resources at home. They needed food, they needed clothing. One of my students actually was living in a hotel due to being homeless, and he was working so hard to get to school every day, and it was just breaking my heart, and I just really needed to do something for him. So from that, the Wildcat Shack kind of emerged. I was talking out loud one day during my prep. I happened to share a room with Mr. Grasso, and he's like, I'm all in, like, let's do it. So we kind of went to Mr. Shore, we kind of, threw out the idea to him, but at the same time, there happened to be other people in our school district who were also working kind of in circles also. Dr. McCooley happened to be reaching out to a man by the name of Michael Levine, and he actually is a man who is running the Social Conscious Project, which is an organization that we have joined up with, and he has very generously donated 2 full-size washers and dryers to our district, so our community, our students, their parents can utilize this to help them out with just their basic living facilities or needs. Allison Lawrence happened to come on board. There you are, sorry. Because somebody made a post once on Facebook and we're like, oh, this is a great idea, and I happened to comment, oh, we're actually starting this at Pinelands, and Allison's like, oh my God, that's so great. She goes, can I start asking people? And if you guys don't know Allison knows everybody in town, so she's like the perfect person to like jump on board. And I'm not lying, within like 3 days, I think Allison's half of her basement was filled up with donations already. So we've really have been working very tirelessly trying to get this up. It didn't help that we had been shut. Part of our buildings had been shut for a year and everyone was in transition. So of course the 3 of us we were itching so much to get this all started. Thankfully Mr. Balone and his staff have kind of worked with us, even though we were the thorn in his side for many weeks, still begging him, please, please, please get this room open, please, please, please. So the room is starting to get open, the kids are working with us, and we just really hope that everybody benefits from that. So, yes. So I'm going to pass this off to one of Mr. Grasso's students because they have made a presentation for all of you to explain more about the Wildcat Shack. So here you go, kids. And they're nervous.
I'm Skylar Fallon.
I'm Eric Chicarelli.
What is the Wildcat Shack? The Wildcat Shack is a place where the students of Pinelands Regional School District, their families, and the communities that we serve can receive assistance with either clothing, food, basic necessities, and utilize the donated washing machines and dryers. We will also be hosting workshops for parents, students, and community members on how to prepare a resume, prepare for job interviews, and how to dress for success and financial planning.
Our vision statement. The Pinelands Junior High Class of 2020 will work to make the Legacy Center at the Wildcat Shack a place of comfort for community members, students, families who are in need of extra assistance. We will provide food, clothing, and much more. The class of 2020 will initiate the first year of the Wildcat Shack, which we hope will be the first of many years servicing the communities that make up the Pinelands Regional School District.
Social Conscience Project Company Overview. The Social Conscience Project transforms communities in need through targeted core programming and resources to help them flourish.
What is the Social Conscience Project? The Social Conscience Project is a volunteer nonprofit organization and is designed to help others in need. They give helpless groups and neighborhoods the resources and ability to thrive in today's world. The Social Conscience Project is a way to make an everlasting impact on all disadvantaged communities.
What we have been up to. We have been collecting, organizing, and preparing donations from the community. We have received carloads of hygiene products, clothing, and food. We are currently in the process of setting up room E106 to look like an organized space where people can easily access what they need.
We place drop boxes at the following local businesses: Retro Fitness Tuckerton, John and Sonia's Luncheonette, Thompson Health and Sports Medicine.
These are just a few of the pictures of picking up donations. That's my little red car, that's Louise. The kids loading or unloading cars from the Social Conscience Project, which would drive down. The one young man is holding the signs that will hang inside and hopefully outside the entrance to the space. Down below to the left is what we call our sorting room. That's where everything gets thrown into room C100. And then the kids, when we have free time, they sort and organize everything on the tables there. That's the entrance into the space that we're going to be occupying, which is just right down the hallway. That is after the crew cleaned the floors and, I mean, just made it look gorgeous. So thank you so much, Mr. Shanahan. I know you guys handled that. That's the beginning of us organizing clothes by gender and style and size. You can flip next one. This is what we've loaded in thus far. So we have cabinets with a plethora of supplies dedicated to males, females, dental care. The washers and dryers, they're not the ones we're getting, but we wanted you to see that we are going to be getting them. We've been working on painting the space, merchandising with all of the clothing racks and things that we've collected and refurbished and refinished, doing a lot of painting. And again, those are a lot of the racks of the things that we have thus collected. So far, we still have a lot to go through. There's still a lot in her house. It's almost out of my house. There's stuff on I came home today. Bags were thrown on my porch today. I went to the gym. The boxes were full again. The community has been wonderful. And flip another bag. I want to say one more thing. One thing we did do is they are doing an initiative over in the high school is the Miss English, the student mentioned, excuse me, a little thirsty, about a wellness center for them. We received 100 blessing bags, which we're going to give them to Mr. Henderson for his endeavor across the street. In the blessing bags are huge Ziploc bags that are filled with a pair of socks, travel sizes of hygiene products, a snack, a water bottle, shaving products. So we're sending a bunch of that over to him to help and get started, get his thing going. So it is really not just limited to the junior high school. It is community-wide. People can utilize it and sign up for it, even if they don't have children, but they live here and they need the assistance. Okay, go ahead. Your turn.
Our grand opening is on November 14th at 3 o'clock p.m. We hope you come.
How can you help? We're looking for the following donations: pasta, peanut butter, tuna fish, applesauce, shelving units, pasta sauce, and then as you can see, just all of these would be a good help if you got donated.
At back to school night, we actually handed out letters through the English department to many of the families, and we're not officially opened yet, but we have already received at least 20 or 25 requests. Many of those requests are for food, and we're also getting very specific requests for clothing items, and Allison, Dan, and I are working endlessly trying to get those donations out to the families as quickly as possible. So we hope that you can help us make this a very successful opening, as well as a successful year. These are just some of the places that you can follow us. We did just open the Twitter account, I believe today. Allison and I have opened up the Facebook account this summer. You can follow us at the Legacy Center at the Wildcat Shack. We're constantly posting, asking for donations. And I think that's it. So I hope you guys join us on the 14th, and we look forward to servicing our community. Any questions?
You guys did a good job.
Yeah, you guys rocked it. Good job.
John, thank you again.
I don't know how to.
You're good.
They are awesome. Like,
I asked them to
So they're going through like hours of operation or?
Yes, the one thing when Mike had come to visit in the summer, he had said, he's done this in other locations. He urged us to have very specific times because you need staff there, you need to be letting them in the building and so forth, so yes.
For those people
We're gonna,
visiting.
and then I did meet with the team and we're gonna start small and then grow from there. So the staff have to do volunteer hours and this is where they can do it. So we're thinking one day a week and then one evening time.
Nice. Really awesome.
yeah, great job. Thank you very much, all of you. All right, moving on to the next item, which is our work session, board forum. First item listed here is something that came up at last month's meeting, which was any update that we had on a consolidation study, et cetera. So Dr. McCooley, I'm going to.
Yes, actually I worked with Nick and we put together a little timeline, so do you have that, Nick? You wanna read that?
Yeah, I don't have the timeline, but I have the stuff committed to
Okay.
from it. We, at the school board's dinner on 9/26, they informed us that the Department of Community Affairs through the governor and something called the newly established Local Assistance Bureau had made up to $10 million available for consolidation studies. So in that press release, they announced those funds were available. The next day, we contacted the DCA through that link provided in the press release and said that we'd be interested in learning more about the services and assistance they're providing. And right now, it's a little bit of a waiting game. We notified them, we notified the county office, the county superintendent to let them know that we were interested in studying it. And I think for now, we're waiting for them to respond, and I think it's up to the board to determine how proactive you want to be in getting out front. Certainly, they'd indicated at that dinner that there were schools in Atlantic County that had sort of begun some preliminary discussions. And I spoke with those school districts, and they'd indicated the first step for them was bringing together the communities that would have to discuss it, including town council, the school boards from those communities, and have really some public meetings where you have people express their concerns, their support, their objections, and really just feel out everybody's opinions on the matter. And I think that would be a logical step for the board to consider. But as far as the specific assistance from the state, we have no word back from them yet. But certainly the board can move independent of the state's action in setting up information sessions, community discussions, or anything that they feel is appropriate along those lines.
And just as I said last month, we have reached out to ETTC because Bass River was doing the study with Little Lake Harbor. We had said, can you just extend that and give us a quote to see what it would look like for Pinelands and Little Lake Harbor? And we have not gone any further than that. They haven't even asked us initial questions, and once they do, they'll give us a quote, and then the board will see if they want to move forward. But as Nick said, since then, we've heard of this money through school boards, so if it's going to be funded through them, we may just wait and see what they're going to provide. I did speak with Kim about this. We were talking about test scores and standardized assessments, and we did discuss a little bit about highlighting all of the shared services that we do here between ourselves and Little Lake Harbor, and perhaps asking some of our state officials to come and visit and see what it looks like, and then maybe give us some more guidance as well. We may see them next week at school boards also.
Anyway, and I did speak to Senator Sweeney's office, and there, it was, basically, he's gonna reach out to the scheduler is gonna call me, and he basically said, like, how soon do you want it, like next week, 2 weeks? I said, no, we just need it like before the end of the year. So that, I think, will help us. And
The
then I think
scheduler of what, Kim?
For him to come
Schedule for
visit.
Senator Sweeney to come
Oh,
visit.
to
Come
actually
visit us,
visit.
yeah.
Yes,
I
and
see.
I spoke to the representative from New Jersey School Boards on the legislative end, and she's gonna reach out to the commissioner of New Jersey, who is going to be at the school board
Yes.
workshop next week
He typically is.
as well. But they weren't sure if, he actually didn't know if Sweeney was gonna be at workshop next week. But because Melissa had the, you know, the photo op with him last year,
Last
I
year.
mentioned that. So hopefully I'll get a call back and maybe we'll have Senator Sweeney come out. I mean, it was basically Melissa's idea and Gina's idea to have them come and see how well we're doing.
So
considering.
I would encourage us as a board and as a broader community, I think first we have to get our arms around scope. You talked about you talked about Bass River and Little Egg
Mhm.
and maybe looping in Highlands into that. I mean, we
No,
are.
they're two separate studies. So the.
Right, but what's the
Right.
Highland
We have
study?
no study.
What is that? Is that making us totally a pre-K through 12 district, all sending districts? I mean, I think we certainly have to get input, as Nick suggested, other districts have done, from the sending districts, boards of educations, our committee people, right? We are representing those towns. I think it's a logical step forward, but I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves. I think we need to pull others into this and have a thoughtful discussion and encompass discussion on that.
Well, one of the things
So
you don't
let me
know.
just
Start
separate
getting
it
us
real
ready.
fast, let me separate it out. All this was to talk about Pinelands right now. With
Pinelands
the shared
and who?
service, because of the shared service.
Of what we're
With
doing
Little
And
now.
what we are doing, it was
Right.
not, it had nothing to do with
Yeah.
the study. It's
Right.
just that we talked
Kinda
about it at the same
right.
meeting.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, first of all, no study has been done. We were asked, Melissa at one time said, well, okay, how much would it cost to do a study?
Exactly.
That study would be more a merge between Little Egg and
Yes.
Pinelands.
Right.
Consolidation would be more we're consolidating all sending districts into one K through 12 district.
And that would have to happen come on the state level, because there are some of the smaller districts that are not willing to participate in any type of study, and we have discussed that before, so we can't force them to, the state may. So at this point, we were going to have a study done just to see what it would look like to be a merge of a K to 12 district. Not that we would do it, what would it look like?
To look at it because of the complexity of Pinelands being owned by 4 towns, not one. You're well aware of the Hunterdon County study, as well as school boards and school boards legal is. For us to do it, it would encompass all the towns. And which to me makes a lot of sense, and I've said that all along, because we have so many repetitive services. The funding that will be available for it has not been really put in place yet, which they're saying about dollars and everything that they haven't even put in place yet, so it would be nice to see what they are doing with it, what we can apply for, what they would pay, and where we could go with all this.
I think you
But-
bring up a lot of good points.
You know what
And I
I'm
think
talking
that, as part of whatever study you do, they would have to look at the intricacies of a regional school district, how that's broken out, what they're doing with that. I think you have a lot of good general information, and it sounds like you have to wait now, see what happens from the state. So really, it sounds like you're just giving some information out.
Right, but I guess I'm suggesting, do we start to think about
Excuse me.
scope and start thinking about having discussions to sense interest from our school districts? And pulling in the other boards of education, looking ahead to the future to have.
Do you see that happening as representatives from each board, like representatives from Pinelands Board meeting with representatives, because you can't have quorum, obviously, and representatives from Eagleswood, representatives from Tuckerton and Bass River, meeting with maybe administrators from each, and just starting a conversation? What are your feelings?
What are your
What do the rest of you
challenges?
see?
How can we
Right.
work together?
What do the rest of you see?
Well, I think this is coming down the road. And I
Essentially,
personally,
yes.
I personally think it's coming down the road sooner rather than later, but that's only my opinion. I didn't think it would happen during my tenure on the board, but after seeing the list, we're all on the hit list amongst
Sure we
other
are.
smaller school
302.
districts. I think it's going to happen, I really do, within the next couple of years. I don't see a problem with meeting and extending that and having that discussion.
I'd rather get ahead of it.
I would agree.
One of the things, I'm sorry.
Because I'd like to know what their feelings are, I'd like to know how they feel, I mean, they're on that list too.
Specific now, school
Yeah.
boards will help you with it.
I don't know.
One of the
Exactly.
things that I know that other regional districts do sometimes is they have meetings, just like you guys were talking about, with the superintendents of the sending districts and a board president. And you just have a meeting, not just about, obviously you have a specific topic, but just a topic about, okay, are there any issues? Are we making sure that, you know, our curriculums are lining up? Are there just any general just meeting just to talk about, you know, once a year, just to say, or twice a
So
year, how are things going?
the last school year, up until maybe a couple months ago, we've met once a month as superintendents. I think it would be nice to add the board presidents into that, so, or vice presidents. I saw her face. So we are all on the same page because the message that I've been receiving in those meetings is there is one school district that is not on board, and I would like that message to be clear to everyone. So if I have no problem scheduling that meeting.
But unfortunately, you know, this is gonna be taken away from all of us, the choice in whether or not it occurs.
Eventually,
And the best
yes,
way
it
to
will.
do it, and the best way to do it is get ahead of the curve, know what would be necessary to do it, and get it done. So, you know, unfortunately, I think, it's spelled out very clearly in the steps of how it occurs, and school boards has all of it available, and Mr. Tangley was one of the leaders in it.
Well, let me ask this, and it wasn't mentioned at the dinner that we were at when we received the award, but does school boards have anything, or are they thinking about setting anything up to meet with the districts that they represent to have some type of a discussion about this?
The only thing
Workshop
we've
about
gotten
this?
from them is just that there may be some
Okay.
funding for it.
Right, and they did
And when I
mention
did speak with Mrs. Friedman, she had directed us to ETT Safe.
Okay.
So that's how we got involved with them.
Okay.
I think also that many of our school board representatives represent so many different boards of education in so many different counties. I mean, our own is in, you know, Atlantic County, Ocean County, some parts of Monmouth County. It's crazy for them. So my suggestion would be, and I don't know, is to let Melissa reach out to our superintendents, and maybe our BAs, because certainly that would be a large portion of it. And we get a representative or two from each school board, come up with a date, and meet and just have a roundtable talk. And
Sounds good.
see how we feel.
I would also add that Kim's initiative, which I appreciate inviting Sweeney here, you might want to incorporate his visit with the meeting of all the school districts, because he has a proposal, a bill that's going to mandate K to 12, and he could give us some idea on the feasibility of when that might be pushed through the assembly, or give us ideas about the process and how long it would take. So if he does agree to come here, that might be an opportunity to meet with all the school districts at that time also.
And if not him, then his immediate under.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a staff person.
Sure.
Or something like that,
Sure.
because that's more of the details.
Right.
They tend not.
Good idea, though, Steve,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
But it could happen after, that would be good too.
Okay.
That's great.
All right, board training, we just had a training, recently on, what was it, the 26th or something of September. So I believe that that is, something that could be added as one of the accomplishments for our action plans on board goals. I don't know what else needed to be brought up on training. I know I had suggested, to Melissa, and I had spoken to Pat, I think I put it out in my president's update, that, you know, at the beginning of the year, because there will be at least 2 new board members, if not more, that you schedule Marianne Friedman to come in and do a team building exercise. If you remember the last time, we weren't real successful with that because there was a very few of us who actually handed in so that she could tabulate that information. But I think that that would be a good way to start is, you know, 1 or 2 people can certainly change the dynamics of a board. So I think that would be a good way for us to get started, or for you to get started
Yes.
in
So
the new
maybe
year.
we could schedule it now because we don't.
Well, I think it should be scheduled now because she is
Very busy.
very busy. She has a lot of school districts she has to cover.
Can I go back to the last topic real quickly? You know, I have a delegates meeting in December, and I have a legislative meeting at the end of November. So the delegates meeting, because of this new stuff, it may be in that. You may want to, I'll check into it, but I probably should be part of that meeting. As
The
the
delegates
legislative-
meeting, where's
No,
it
the
being
one
held?
Oh,
The local meeting?
The local one.
Okay,
So I can bring it back to the delegates. I met with Melissa last week and Gina, partly about some state stuff, so
Right.
it might be a good idea. Because I have a feeling that, you know, instead of everyone talking about how much money they're losing, they're gonna be thinking that maybe we need to be focusing on this instead.
right. Okay, thanks, Kim, but you'll let Melissa or myself know as
Yes.
to what you need.
Yes, thanks.
Can I add something else for the training?
Sure.
On the agenda tonight is the approval for if anybody's going to the workshop. So just when you get to that motion, remember to say you're voting yes, but you're
Abstaining on yourself.
abstaining on yourself. And we're just gonna make one edit to that to make sure that we add Mr. Barchetto.
Right, thank you.
And Sue, I do meet with all of the new board members one-on-one. I schedule time. When I came here, no one was new, so I didn't have to do that. But
Right.
as new members come,
Right.
I sit with them and I go over everything.
Right.
But then that's a great idea to have some, you know,
Right.
culminating activity with everybody.
Right.
Sure.
I think the other thing is to make sure that our new board members get the training manual that
Yes,
the
Yes.
board.
yes.
No
I
offense
will
to
give
Mr.
them, I give them a
Kaburki.
binder with a whole bunch of things in it.
Okay, all right, awesome. And I have a whole bunch of things
Yeah, I'll
that I
take
can
some
turn
strategic
over.
plan. I'll take, okay.
That sounds good.
The last thing before we go into item B.
Can I add something, Sue, under board training? I'm sorry.
Sure, it's okay.
You might wanna present.
I am gonna do that,
Oh,
but
you're
I was
gonna
gonna
do
do.
it
No, I was gonna do it before we went into B.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that was it. It was on board training and we just received that, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
at the county meeting, on September 26th, which I had pneumonia and couldn't go, but, the Board of Education, and I did thank them all in my update, for the time and energy it took to achieve this. You know, we have boards of education, we have certified boards of education, and we have master boards of education. And we have received a board certification, for being certified. It took, quite a few hours of training sessions and get together and some, you know, obviously people had to change their schedules around. So, we have received this. I want to thank the entire board. It means a great deal to me that this is a first for this board. So, thank you all. I'm gonna give this to Melissa, and I guess it could be hung in the board office, or give it to Nick.
Congratulations.
There you go, thank you.
Not in the dialogue.
Okay, moving on to B, which is, new business, booster clubs. Do you want me to hand this to Nick or you, Melissa?
Nick will
Okay.
give an update on this.
So I've made some suggested revisions to the board policy on booster clubs to align it with school guidelines and procedures for booster clubs as well, and I emailed this information to the board. The suggested revisions to the policy basically add that booster clubs and other organizations affiliated with the school would be required to make application to the superintendent for recognition on an annual basis. That application would then have to be approved by the Board of Education, so we know who is an active recognized booster club or affiliated club of the school. And also that their fundraising activities and meeting activities are reported to the board. And so we're adding a bit of a financial reporting component. And a lot of this is born from Gatsby regulation as the business administrator and the business office is responsible that we review this information annually for groups that are affiliated with the school. So I think that the important thing is that this is not a challenging level of reporting. It is really simple in, here's our expenses for fundraising, here's the revenue we made from fundraising, it's just literally 2 columns on a spreadsheet that show you expenses and revenues. It's not meant to be burdensome, it's meant to give everybody a real sense of confidence that the dollars they're donating to these clubs are going to the purposes they're intended for. And a little bit of this is a response to, since I started here in January, I've had several board members and community members raise different levels of objections about clubs and are they affiliated with the school. We've had groups post for fundraising events that use the district's logo that weren't affiliated with the school. So this is really an attempt to provide some some structure for everybody in that space so that we know on an annual basis who the groups are that represent our student athletes and all other affiliated groups. And in a conversation with Sue earlier today, I think it would be appropriate that obviously these kind of procedures can be amended at any time. I think it's appropriate because this is not something we're just going to drop 8 pages of guidelines and have, everybody's just going to whip in and say, yeah, this is great. Now we have 100 organizations signed up and they're all following the rules. There's going to be some implementation. We need to meet with everybody, go over what the reporting procedures are, and obviously provide a lot of assistance for those groups if they want it, because we want to encourage these groups to support our teams and support our organization. So Sue and I talked about having a 90-day period where this is implemented, and during that period, certainly this is, and beyond, this is up for suggestions, edits, improvements. We didn't expect to nail this right out of the park, but we wanted to encompass as much of the issues we were encountering as we could in these guidelines. So certainly I want to open it up to you guys for some feedback or questions and comments, and understand that this is going to be implemented over a 90-day period. We've talked a little bit with Mr. Sunderman and Mr. Hickman and the other administrators who oversee these groups about a timeline to get paperwork together, meet with teams, meet with booster clubs and things like that. So that's the plan, but certainly fire your questions away.
I think the biggest thing, and Pat and Tommy and I certainly know because we all served on, and Betty and I think you were also on the policy committee for a while, is this was gone over for over 2 years, and that there were issues with the fundraising and the booster clubs and who's doing it, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is the best thing that we could do at this particular point in time. I like the fact that Nick is saying, okay, we're gonna set some guidelines. Okay, but guidelines aren't written in stone. We're gonna look at them in a test period for 90 days and then bring them back and say, okay, well, where are the issues? Are there things that maybe aren't flexible enough, or this needs to be changed because it doesn't really work? And we look at it in 90 days, and say, well, do we need to change these procedures now? Do we need to just fix them a little bit? So I was very happy to see this come up. It was a very long battle. In fact, in looking at the battle, I realized going back into those laborious minutes that we used to write for our policy meetings, and I went back and read them, that one of the policies basically had been changed. We decided to keep 2 the same, but merge them and put a 9210 regulation into place.
And I apologize, I skipped over that.
Well, you couldn't got it
Sue
because
had
guess
asked
what? It never appeared on our in-house.
The regulations don't appear on our search from the
It
website,
did not
which is
appear
something
for Pinelands.
Sue had called me this morning and said, regulation 9210 exists, and we went through that to make sure that it was consistent or we didn't have any conflicts with the policy in the guidelines.
And that was my concern.
And I would say, I was encouraged that we're looking for the same things. The
Right.
regulation in 9210 is looking for, and I indicated this in the email we sent back, we're looking for some, that they have to make an application, that they have to meet certain very minimal reporting standards, and that the conduct, they expected to maintain a certain amount of conduct, right? And that the board maintained ultimately the right to say yay or nay, or to fundraising activities, to any activities associated with our student population. So.
And you got a copy of this, right, Nick?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what the feedback, you said you talked to Will Sunderman and Darren Hickman, what
Well,
was
generally when I go
what was
into
their
everybody and
feedback?
talk about, I want to take a closer look at fundraising and booster
Yeah.
clubs, they say, are you sure?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not, I wasn't, and I wish I didn't really unturned this stone when I first, but I'd say that tongue in cheek, it's needed, because there's a level of oversight that previously was not required for these types of funds, but now, and certainly as a result of audits in past years where they've identified student activity funds and internal controls as areas we need to focus on, we feel like this was something that's appropriate, but also not overbearing. It's not meant to be onerous to the organizations. It's not a requirement that you have to get a 501(c) status or that you have to file voluminous reports with us on a quarterly basis. These are really simple Excel spreadsheets that are self-explanatory, and the business office is certainly willing to help organizations meet that and understand the reporting requirements. it's a lot of work for us. I'm not super excited about dealing with any of the blowback or necessarily the resistance from it, but I think, and we had talked about this, anybody that objects to reasonable oversight is a red flag for me. And so this is a very reasonable level of oversight, and I would expect most people are going to be on board and support it because it gives, ultimately, it maintains the public trust that the money that they're donating is going to the causes they expect, and that we're providing the proper level of oversight to that.
It protects them also.
Absolutely.
So they thought,
Absolutely.
they felt it was manageable, because a lot of them come under their domain.
Absolutely.
And there's a ton of them under the athletic department.
Mhm.
Okay, so they thought it was manageable
I
and
think
doable?
I think we all are realistic that it's going to be, that this is not a flip the switch and we have this perfect program in place, but we're all committed to getting it there, and certainly Will and Darren and the administrative team, we met a couple of times about it. It's not going to be an easy undertaking. I don't want to sugarcoat it that way, but I think we're all on the same page on why we need it and the importance of implementing it.
I want to thank you very much
You're welcome.
Yeah, no.
for spearheading
Karen?
this.
So, just a couple things. The policy that's linked here does not talk about the application and the reporting. So is that in the regulation?
You know what, no, I didn't update that, because we haven't adopted, you're talking about 9191?
Yeah.
We haven't adopted that new policy yet, so I didn't want to put the new policy,
Okay.
and I will update that book.
Yeah, it's listed for approval.
Yeah, now is it a first reading
Oh, the
or?
old one's the linked one?
Because I think we need two.
No, the wrong one is there.
I got
Oh,
one.
Okay, all right.
okay. So that will be part of the
The-
policy, not necessarily the regulation.
Yeah, and because the wrong one is linked there, we'll put it back on the agenda
For next
next month.
month.
for
Okay.
approval.
Next month,
Okay.
And certainly if you have comments on that in the meantime, send them my way. I want, there's,
So the
Yeah, because he
other,
wants more input.
yeah, comment I had too was, I think it specifies high school. I would maybe just leave it more broad to the
Yes,
Highlands
I noticed
District
that.
Booster Clubs,
yep.
right? So wherever they are
Right.
here, we're following the same rules.
Right.
Most of them will certainly be at high school, but.
Stephen, did you have, I know earlier you had said you had a question
Yeah,
about
I
the
have
booster.
a legal question or concern. Certainly, I'm cognizant of what Nick is suggesting and the importance of it, but I was looking at, from school boards, the title of there is said preventing the cactus wrapped in a porcupine, which I didn't know what the heck meant. But it basically says that booster clubs,
That doesn't sound good.
whether large or small, operate independently and are therefore outside district scrutiny regarding state fiscal accountability requirement for schools. The reality is that the board does not control what these independent groups do. So the question is, I can see affiliated but not affiliated. So we can have a series of affiliated booster clubs, which we certainly can control, but there could be a series of non-affiliated booster clubs, which we have no control over at all. They become independent. And we have some control over using our facilities and other things, but not in terms of their finances.
So legally, the article is correct. You don't have control of the booster clubs. However, you're allowing them to use your name and to work with the school district. So the idea is, and many schools, I would say the majority of high school districts have some type of regulations regarding booster clubs and this type of oversight that Nick is talking about. And the idea is that we want to know that you are being responsible with money because those students and these families are in our community. We're not saying if there's a problem, we're not handling it. You have to go to the police if there's a problem with fraud or stealing money, if there's a problem internally with the organization. Again, that's the internal booster program and their problem. These guidelines help us just have some oversight and control. If you want to be the Pinelands blank booster club and use our name, then you have to allow us openness to look at your books, to have some, not oversight, but the ability to look at what you're doing to make sure that we can continue in good faith to put our name with what you're doing.
Okay, let me ask Betty Ann a question, because you're in charge of the Pinelands Wrestling Club, which I guess technically is not a booster.
Junior Wildcats.
Junior Wildcat. Now, that's not affiliated with the school
That's
district,
not
right? That's an independent organization? That's the level of, that I don't quite get. I mean, you don't want to eliminate something like Betty Ann's Junior Wildcats Wrestling Club by making things onerous so that it doesn't continue. But she's not affiliated with Pinelands, even though her name is Pinelands Junior
It's Junior
Wildcat.
Wildcat Wrestling Club.
So it's not Pinelands, it's
No.
just Junior Wildcats.
And it's a different age.
None of those students go to our schools.
And none of that money
That's
filters
not
into
true,
our
right? Some of the seventh, eighth
We
graders
do
go to our
make
school.
donations.
Yes.
We do make donations
But
to
those
the
are
school.
approved.
Yes.
And we also have seventh and eighth graders in our schools in that. Yes.
But that's if I can, yes, that's
Sure.
a
That's
club
I'm
wrestling
feeling
team.
a little heat
what I'm
right
saying.
now. You might
That's
see
not
it,
a
I'm not
booster
sure
club.
why.
It's not, it's
It's
a,
not a booster club,
it's
but
a-
she's
it's a
saying
club.
it's
Team.
a
It's an athletic
acceptance.
association,
Yeah.
it's not a
Yeah.
booster club.
Like a rec
That's-
program.
Yeah, so we're talking about booster clubs, such as
Yeah, it's totally
baseball
separate.
booster club, and I'm not calling out any individual club, I'm just saying, you know, for, if we have a Pinelands baseball team, it would be the Pinelands Booster Club for that
Baseball.
team.
So as long
We're
as
no
it doesn't
different
have
than a Little
booster
League.
in it, it's not going to be regulated
No,
by this
that's a
policy.
youth recreational program as opposed to the
Fundraising group.
booster club
A
that
fundraising
sells
group,
the
right.
snacks at halftime for.
That's a youth organization league,
where
and booster
children
clubs
pay
are
money to
fundraising leagues.
participate in.
They're
Usually
fundraising
sponsored
wrestling
by a
matches.
municipal rec or some
Right.
other type of a municipal
We're like
alliance
baseball,
fund.
basketball,
Basketball.
softball, that's
Right.
what we are. We just happen to be, have the resources to make donations back to the school for.
That's what I'm saying, her organization would not be affected by
No.
this policy.
No, that's not the
Or
type we're
under
talking
It's
about.
only those organizations that seek an affiliation with the school through
Our teams or
And then
our
our
clubs.
fundraising for our teams on behalf of the school. And the other issue that, and this is something that Nick and I talked about, is it's good to get these all cleaned up. It's also good to have those conversations about your booster clubs and should they even be doing like scholarships and other things, because you have NJSAA, and you have NCAA college, you know, professional athlete requirements and all of those things. So I think it's a good conversation, Nick's fresh eyes coming in and being able to look at all of this.
And it has been identified in our audit for at least the last 2, if not more years.
Yes, it's
I hear
something
internal
that's-
controls a lot.
Yes.
So you answered most of my questions as well earlier, and I don't know if any of them relate, but, the one, so you answered, sort of answered, it's pretty much falling on your office. So you're gonna have to be the one who's gonna follow up with the 100 booster, because everything
Well, I think
seems
you
to
have a little
relate
bit of
high
both.
school or
The-
superintendent.
The application has to be made to the superintendent, that goes
Oh,
through
okay.
at the school level. The business office involvement is reviewing the reports that are submitted, ensuring that the paperwork is accurate and timely. I would think it's a shared responsibility. I don't wanna take it, Will's gonna have a lot from it, Darren's gonna have, anybody who has a role with these groups are gonna have some responsibilities in maintaining the guidelines that we're proposing. And again, I can't suggest enough input. If there's some things in here that you think need some tweaking, we borrowed a little bit from other district policies, other conversations with other schools, things like that. So certainly there's time to customize this to meet what everybody thinks is a good example of guidelines for the clubs.
One last question, tell me if I'm correct then. The Pinelands Foundation group that just was established would not go under the policy.
The alumni group has
Yeah.
their own 501c3, correct?
So they
They're
would
their
not
own
be-
No, Education
organization.
Foundation, this is just for your student athletes.
Okay.
And student, not just athletes,
Clubs.
School clubs, so like the Thespians, all those other affiliated clubs that are associated with student groups.
So for tonight, we're gonna remove it from the agenda. Did you
91,
Yes.
91, yes.
Yes.
So it will be removed from
say?
A1, the third one down.
Yeah.
Till next week.
Till next
Do we
week.
need a motion for that before we?
We just removed it because of an error. Because we're not actually bringing that same one up to vote.
I would also ask that under A1, they are revisions and policy changes. Do they require a second reading?
If they are minor changes, then you would just need one reading. If they are major changes, you would need two.
Well, 2 of them are mandated, so.
So I'm gonna say we only need one then. Am I,
They're minor changes.
okay, all right,
Yeah, they just go to the amounts and hours or
okay,
something.
all right. All right, Moving along, anything under old business that we need to bring up? Awesome. Okay, moving on to item number 10, which is our residents forum. Please be respectful of other people who would like to speak and try to limit your remarks. This is on agenda items only. And if you're coming to the podium, please state your name and your address for the record. No? Brian, you don't want to escape?
Seeing no one?
Okay. Seeing no one, then we're going to move on to our committee reports. Under A, instructional, could I have a motion to approve A 1 through 9?
Motion. Second.
I would also remind board members that under our committee reports, all of them, that if it's an item that was discussed in executive session, we would appreciate a yes or no vote with no comment. Okay, any discussion before we take a vote?
How the district placements, are they all new?
No, they're not new. One, if you see, Kim, is the same number, same ID number.
Oh, I see.
And then the second one is a different student, but no, these are not new, they're carried over from last school year.
And they're placed by us.
Aaron, Mr. Barchetto did have a question.
Some are displaced students and special education.
We're
From previous years. These were contracts that we received for this school year from previous placements.
It looks like the one might be a state placement.
But we're on the hook for the entire thing, just not the educational? Because that's the entire stay, not just the educational component, that cost. So I mean, shouldn't we get that residential placement
We'll
back in the state?
clarify that.
Okay.
We can clarify that.
Any other discussion?
Thank you.
All right, roll call. Mr. Barchetto.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Can I finish, I think there was something I had to.
I'll come back to you. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah, there was.
Cabrera.
Yes on items 1 through 8, no on item 9.
Ms. Palladino.
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel.
Yes.
Ms. Papakua.
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
On new hires, which would be 3, no.
No, we're not there yet.
We're not
A.
there yet.
No, we're on A, Thomas.
Oh.
A9, you would say. you would
A9,
abstain from.
A9 I abstained from.
Yes.
Yes, to everything else.
Okay, motion carries.
Do I get to vote?
The motion passed before. but-
That's all right.
Sorry.
I am yes for everything except item number 9 is a no. All right, moving on to item B, personnel. Could I have a motion to approve items number 1 through 16?
So made.
Second?
Any discussion?
Mr. Barchetto.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes on all but 3, no, and yes on everything else.
No on 3, rest on the yes? I didn't say no. Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Ms. Palladino.
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel.
Yes.
Ms. Papakua.
Yes.
Mrs. McVeigh.
Yes.
Mrs. Chambers.
Yes.
Ms. Ernst.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Could I have a motion to accept under operations, item C1? Thank you.
Motion?
Do I have a second? Tommy seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Barchetto.
You're welcome.
So is this the one yes, except for 5, staying on myself?
No.
No, this is
Okay,
C1.
yeah, D's next, this is just C. C
I was
operations.
just trying to get us
Yes.
out of here.
Then yes.
Mr. Williams. Yes. Mr. Kubricki.
Yes.
Ms. Palladino.
Yes.
Ms. Hannadel.
Yes.
Ms. Papakua.
I will abstain.
Mrs. McVeigh.
I'll abstain as well.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Ms. Ernst.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item D, the report of the board secretary, business administrator. May I have a motion to accept items D1 through 16?
Motion.
That was Pat, second?
Second.
Betty Ann. Discussion?
Yes. I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry. Item 15, Nick, I'd sent you a couple of questions. This is about the emergency contract.
Yep.
So my question wasn't necessarily, I certainly agree and support that we need to promptly address the issue. My question was more about the process and following the timeline. I thought once we had an emergency contract, it had to be resolved within 30 days, and that's why I was pointing out kind of the timeline from over the summer to
Yep.
then September.
And so part of the problem was that the bill trickled up to where the amount exceeded the bid threshold. And so we had to apply and it's not uncommon, we did consult with the county to make sure it was okay to apply the emergency designation retroactively. But, you know, we hire a contractor to do the work, that number gets over the bid threshold, and because it's emergency, because it's work for public health and safety, we then have to make it an emergency contract so we comply with purchasing laws.
Okay, thank you. My other question I sent you, and I didn't get a chance to check for your response, but item 16 is our agreement for having our officers in the building. That
It's consistent with what we budgeted.
Yeah, I know
so
you had met with Chief earlier, yeah.
Yeah, we met with Chief Bat
So no
and
surprises.
Rodney from the CFO from the town.
Perfect.
I want to say in March, as part of the budget process, Dr. M and I met with them and.
Okay. So that's exactly what we expected.
Yes.
then. Yeah, good, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Stephen?
Item number 10, I think we're not compliant with NJAC 6823A 5.2, and I will be voting no on that because of that reason.
Okay.
You want to tell us what you're talking about? To be more specific? Am I allowed to ask a question?
Well, yeah, sure, I mean, you're referring to particular law or statute, rather.
Yeah,
A
administrative
regulation.
code. I had brought it up a couple of times before, so I don't think it's going to do any good to rehash it, because there doesn't seem to be any desire.
The
to
parameter
follow
part.
through. The professional services which required before the budget process takes place to set thresholds for those as required by that code, and the schedule does not have that aspect codified in the schedule.
I thought that we agreed that the budget committee would be meeting.
Yes, and Nick, I think, no, I told somebody that Nick is reaching out to the budget committee about a breakout session, correct?
Well, we talked about trying to get together at school boards next week, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that with the full committee. So we were looking at the following week, I believe the date was the 30th, that we had brandied about, that we would try to get a 4 p.m. meeting.
Okay.
The idea has come out of that meeting with some parameters and also to establish the board budget goals informally through committee, then present to the full board for
Right,
consideration and
okay,
approval.
all right. And we did set some goals, because Betty Ann did take notes, and my error, because I did promise I was gonna put them out in my president's update, but my brain wasn't functioning real well, so I did forget.
So maybe as a suggestion, can we approve this as is, but I
The
think.
budget plan of action is not, it's not statutorily required to define that we are spelling those, we're required to set those limitations. We're not required to schedule in the budget plan of action when we're gonna set those limitations. So this document, respectfully, Mr. Kubricki, does not violate statute. It does not specify in that schedule when we would make those determinations. But to your point, it's fair that that's a thing that should come out of the committee, and I'll make sure that's something we address in the first meeting.
The point is, we are going to do it.
Yes.
The code requires though that we set those limits before budget preparations begin, So unless we do it by the first budget preparation item.
So the
which-
budget preparations began at your request in July. Should we have done it then?
No, I'm just,
But
So,
we will
yeah,
be
so I
doing
mean-
it in the October, November timeframe.
Yes, that
right?
is the
So you
plan.
almost could start your timeline.
Well, in other words, the administrative staff and such aren't pouring their stuff in at this point. That this, what was given to us, and I thought it was very nice for our approval, was what they intend to do and at what point in time, which month, all of that information is gonna come in. I mean, that's not something that requires our approval. I think it's a step on Nick and Melissa's part to say, okay, for the sake of transparency, we're putting out to you what we are expecting of our administrative staff at this particular point in time to get this stuff in.
And
So,
I will just add, being involved with the budget committee for the past 5 years, we've never seen something like this until we got to January.
yeah, so, okay.
We did ask, you guys asked last year and we promised that we would start the process sooner, engage everybody a little bit sooner. And certainly that's, I don't want to get into the 60-day crunch window of trying to prepare a $30 million budget in sometime between
What do
Feb.
you mean
1.
like you did last
Like
year?
we had to do
March.
last year.
Well, I mean, the circumstances were what they were, but that's why we wanted to push this. We want to engage with our administrators prior to Christmas break so that that information's in. We come out of Christmas break with their info in and we can start the planning process on our side of the business office.
Okay.
So can the parameters be found somewhere that were set?
Yes, and I just said it was my fault because Betty Ann had sent those to me, and I meant to attach them to one of my president's update, but I was so sick at that time, I didn't know
Understood,
what I
now
was.
you're reaching to the choir.
I don't remember what I was attaching. I hope you didn't get any of my
You
personal
got my update
information.
instead that week.
Would you like me to resend them?
No, I still have. Thank you, Betty Ann.
So,
Okay, any other discussion, and if not, please remember to abstain on yourself for the, yes.
School board, so yes, under number 15,
Yes.
the whole emergency procurement report is, that's why I wanted to stop in earlier. Because the whole procurement report for item 15 is there, and it's also 325,000 for all risk. Is that gonna come out?
That's not it's, all rest numbers lower than that, I believe, but I'd have to check it.
Oh, 265.
Yeah, the total number was.
Yeah, 265 and Farrell Flynn 50. Is that all coming out of soft cost?
So right now, it's coming out of, we bore the cost because, that's correct. So we have to, because it's a designation under emergency contract, we have to move to get it done quickly. That also means we have to pay for it right away so that we can get it going. We will seek subrogation through the insurance company for our expenses, and we've started that process with them.
That has been started.
Yeah, we filed a claim, we've had some, we had a conference call with NJSIG today about it, and as more information's available, I'll give the board an update.
That's good.
I also want to clarify, because Nick and I had a conversation about this, that the CNC Plumbing Company, which was the original rescinding the approval of their emergency contract, because not only did the numbers go up, but they weren't getting the job done.
We said some, I don't wanna be.
No, and I'm not
overcritical of that.
saying
We
they-
were in a really tight time frame.
Right.
We needed things to be executing very quickly.
Very quickly.
And, it was in the best interest to get this done more expediently to move to.
You're
a
so
different
much
vendor.
nicer than I.
Well, I don't wanna be unfair to that other vendor.
Right.
It's, you know, it's.
Okay, and so consequently, the other one is out.
Now,
One's
everything
out,
that's
one's
being
in.
done in those rooms wasn't on the original spec of work for,
No, they were qualified as unforeseen circumstances that were not part of the original scope of work.
cabinets,
Yes.
Yes,
Tables.
that's part of it, yes.
Those are part of the,
unforeseen.
yes. There was not a plan to change the base cabinets in the home ec room
Right.
prior to there being water damage to those cabinets.
Any other?
Oh, yeah, just one last one, sorry. Item 7 is shared services. So this is for behavioral services, the ones questioning between us and Little A. The question of, is this part of the child study team services that we currently, Pinelands offers Bass River, and does it No.
This is from Little Lake to
Okay.
Pinelands, not
Yeah.
Pinelands to Bass
Right.
River. So
But
in
this-
prior years, we had used outside vendors to provide BCBA and behaviorist services to our students. The hourly rate for those would typically be a three-figure number. The most recent one we looked at was $125 an hour. The ability, and this is kind of one of the advantages of the shares, is we have these capabilities on the team in Little Egg Harbor. We establish their rate based on their salary at Little Egg Harbor, and we bill that accordingly back to Pinelands. So I think the goal there is to save the spread between the $125 an hour they were charging and the $90 that we can do it internally.
Absolutely
Yeah.
get that. My question was more, we provide child study team services, Pinelands to
Bass
Bass
River.
River, not these
Not
behavioral.
behavioral.
No,
services.
it's very
Got it.
specific in that agreement, what we
Okay.
provide Bass
I
River,
just
and
wanted
it's
to
not
make sure
this.
if we had a crossover, we needed
Right.
to loop that in.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I just wanted to add, the donations, were those amounts ever added in, or, because I don't see anything on the one. Donation list to Lake School Room, number 8.
This is even,
Or is it just more that, I mean, is it definitely happening if there's not a dollar amount, I guess?
I think
List the
that's
items.
reflective of them maybe not knowing the value of those.
Okay.
They donated that
But
equipment.
it definitely happened, okay.
Yes.
Thanks, that's what I was asking.
Anything else under G? All right, Nick, we're ready then.
Mr. Barchetto?
Yes, except for number 5, yes on all, staying on myself.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
I will abstain on 2, 3. No on 7. And abstain on 15. All the rest, yes.
And abstain for yourself.
And abstain for myself, yep. Yep.
Absolutely. Hold on, this one, I need a separate piece of paper. 2, 3, 15, no 7.
Yep. Got it right there.
Yep. Mr. Cabricki?
Abstain on number 5 for myself, no on number 10, and yes on everything else.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Palladino?
Yes on everything except number 5, I abstain myself.
Okay. Ms. Handel?
Yes on everything, except I am abstaining on number 5 for myself for the workshop next week. And Dawn, thank you, Dawn Desiato and Mrs. Van Orden for their donations.
Ms. Papapua?
yes on everything except 5, I will abstain for myself. And item 9, I am a no.
Okay, Mrs. McVeigh?
Yes, on everything, I shall abstain for myself, item number 5.
Okay. Ms. Chambers?
Yes, with the exception of myself, under item number 5.
Okay, and Ms. Ernst?
Yes on everything except number 5. I abstain on myself. In our bills list, I will give you the item number 11 for, unless you want me to just read out the name of the company.
No.
Okay, 11, 401, 100, 800, 23, 0, 0, 0, 0. It's, I think, 4 items totaling $2,753.86. It sticks in my craw every time we pay it, so coming to the end of my reign, I'm voting no.
Okay. So all motions carry in that, I'm gonna go through the recording a couple times to make sure I have that accurate.
Okay. Moving on to item 13, residence forum. This is on general topics. Please be respectful of other people in the audience who may wish to speak. Okay. Okay, then, moving right along. How about board forum? Would anybody like to speak? I'll start this time. I always start with you, Betty. I'll start with AJ.
I would like to thank all the staff at Pinelands Middle School. My daughter was part of the Pinelands experience. She absolutely loved it. So thank you everyone for your hard work and the board for supporting it, and looking forward for all my children to experience it in the future.
Mr. Kabricki.
I wanted to thank Nick for sending that article on the California start times, which was now
9 a.m.
mandated.
Yes.
8:30 in the morning. They're ahead of the curve. I also want to, also at the same time read an article about the Lawrence School District, who did a study on whether to change their start time. And it was a really well done study that took into account parents, the teachers, and the percent who were in favor of moving their start times and the difficulties. And what impressed me about their study was not only the scope of how well it was done, but also a second phase now they're doing in the study where they're looking at a very creative way to have two different start times. One that would take into account the concerns of parents and staff who want to start early, and the second start time for parents and staff who appreciate the impact that a later start time has on all educational aspects. And I thought it was very creative and well done. So if the board members want a copy of that study or want to look at it, I'll be happy to send it to them.
I actually would like to read that.
Yeah, can you
Because
send me
I
the
was
California
following
one
the
too?
California
Well,
thing.
Nick had the California
Yeah.
one, so.
Yeah.
I'll share that with everybody.
Thank you.
Well, you didn't express as much interest in
No.
that.
Sweeney will
I'm
talk about
following
it
you.
next week.
Okay. This is Papa Koopa.
Yeah, I was very excited to see all the pictures of the smiling faces on the Pinelands experience. So, yeah, that was a great, to bring that back for our students. Also saw and read about the homecoming, and I thought it was a great idea to bring the staff back. And when I saw some of the staff members, it was really nice to see how much they seem to miss and enjoy each other. And just tonight, listening to our staffs talk about some of the initiatives that they're undertaking, I feel like we're starting to get back to kind of more of that family and community connection. And I just want to thank all of our staff because they do give their time, personal time, and I appreciate that, and I know so many of our community members appreciate that about it. So, thanks, and I'm looking forward to an awesome school.
Thank you.
So I want to thank Mr. Kabricki for putting me in the bad parent category of shipping my kids to school early. Because I got on that train so fast. Just wanted to thank the staff. Pinelands experience was awesome. My son had a blast. It was great. Thank you.
I echo your sentiments on the Pinelands experience. Being one of the original staff members 40 years ago, actually probably 37 years ago, when the Pinelands experience was started, and it did come from Cherry Hill because the person in charge of it at the time, Mr. Ocean, brought it with him when he came to Pinelands in '79. I'm glad to see it back. It's a great initiative, and the pictures were great. Which leads me into the Cat Eye. They have done a fabulous job putting together the start of school activities, the athletics, the Pinelands experience, the homecoming, the reunion, the 40th year reunion, and I want to thank the Pinelands, or the Cat Eye staff for all of their time and effort, and also the photographers that are involved with that staff. The pictures have been great, so thank you. You are certainly promoting the positives and the best here at Cat Dome. And lastly, Mrs. Schaefer, I see that Ms. Lawrence has left, Mrs. Lawrence has left.
Mr. Grasso.
And Mr. Grasso is still here.
Sleeping, but he's still here.
I want to thank you for your presentation on the Legacy Center, and please thank the students, because I'm sure they were nervous. I've actually witnessed a lot of the donation boxes in town, specifically or mainly at Retro, and I have to say it's filled every day. I've heard a lot about it. I've seen your website is great. Your the one that you've created under Facebook, I follow, and it's great. I want to thank you for your time and your efforts, and I'm sure there's a lot more people that are there behind the scenes helping you. The donations from the community have been unbelievable. It's been awesome. So thank you. I'm looking forward to it. And can somebody please send me a reminder of when the opening is, because I will forget. But anyway, thank you for the presentation.
They're making invitations, so
Oh,
I'll
great.
make sure I send them, because I'm
Excellent.
sending them to the local
Okay.
members too.
Oh, good.
Good.
Good. So thank you very much for that. It's something that is definitely needed here in this community for our families and for our students. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a nice evening. We'll see you next month.
Betty Ann.
Oh, sure. I'd like to reiterate the Pinelands experience. I have 3 grown children and had an opportunity to experience that. The Sleepaway Pinelands experience, I also had an opportunity to attend it, and I was saddened when it went away, and I'm very glad to see it back, even though it's in a smaller increment. I'm hoping we add back the availability to do more than one day. I'd like to thank everybody who had anything to do with it. I think it's a great thing for students from sending districts to come together, get to know each other, share experience, make new friends, everything. I'm really excited that that's back. And I would like to also say that the Cat Eye is a wonderful thing. I enjoy sometimes, I'm a busy working grandmother, and sometimes I don't get to all the events, but it's nice to be able to catch up on some of the events, and the Cat Eye does a wonderful job.
Thank you, Betty Ann. Kim.
Echo all the sentiments. Thanks, everyone, for your hard work.
Same, I'd just like to thank everyone for everything they do for our children and our communities. You know, it takes a lot of people to bring these things together, and including this board and everyone in these communities that volunteer their time on top of, you know, their regular duties to get all this stuff done. Nick, thank you for all your hard work, and it's nice to see that we actually have an emergency contract. No problem.
I would just do a ditto. Certainly, Allison, Kathy, Dan, unbelievable job and a huge job, and I know it's still not done. So I do have free time, not too much of it, but if you need help, please let me know. And I do have items that I'm trying to still get rid of, so furniture, etc. So, you know, please let me know. Pinelands experience, an unbelievable adventure for students, but also an unbelievable powerful tool for teachers who attend. Because it also, while it brings the kids together, it also brings the staff together in ways that are just unimaginable. They are certainly some of my fondest memories as a teacher at Pinelands. Once I am no longer on the board, I will be able to delegate or donate some of my time to other endeavors. And you can bet I'll be out there trying to raise some money for the Pinelands experience. So I am glad that all of you have come tonight to my Board of Education. Again, thank you for the hours that you gave for this plaque, and for the time that you guys donate, you know, because it's hefty. You all have responsibilities too. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Just saying congratulations to our students.
To what?
Our students of the month.
Oh, yes.
I'll mark that in.
Okay, good.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't think so.
8:10.
All right, that's pretty good.